Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Life, number 80 for January 9th, 2019. A new year has erupted here.
Whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I was able to say 2019 instead of 2018, but that's the way it goes. Certainly, we've got a few panelists, and one just joined at the end, but we'll start with Tony in Chicago. Tony.
Hi everyone. Welcome to 2019. It finally started acting like January here, and it went to negative numbers centigrade for about like the first time in a while. So starting to feel it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's certainly getting colder in the Great White North as well. And speaking of the next Great White Norther, we've got Paul from Colorado. Paul, how are you today?
Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be back. I may have to excuse myself if customers come in to pick up their cars because it's still working hours for me here in Colorado. But
well, we certainly appreciate the effort, Paul, for coming in and joining us as you can.
Sure.
But yeah, you're in the mountain time zone, so it's only like about 5 p.m. there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ah, very good. Very good. Well, welcome everyone to the show. We've got quite a bit of news to talk about today in the Tesla world, and I guess let's get at it. Our first story comes from Inside EV, and it's a story that we've touched on a few times in the past as well. It's concerning Tesla's battery lead when it comes to the EV industry, and how Tesla, of course, with its Giga Factory, its battery pack, its architecture, its different cells that it put together for the Model 3, the 2170, how it's all specifically built to allow them to have better density, better energy use within those cells, better packs, better cooling. And it's something that the Inside EVs article talked about as their secret weapon. This allows them to push the pack specifically for the car that they're using it in, and to get better mileage, faster charge rates. As the integration of all these things come together, you get yourself a better result in all aspects. And certainly we've seen that over time with the development of the 2170, and of course with the Giga Factory being built and others coming online. This is only going to, I believe, become a more determining factor as time goes on. They just seem to be able to push it forward faster with the volume that they're able to come out with, and competitors are going to have a real hard time in catching up as time goes along. And anything you've got there, Tony? You got a picture there of the 2170 in production? Tony?
Oh, we lost Tony.
We lost Tony, but we've got his picture.
I think anything that can help reduce the cost per kilowatt of batteries and provide denser energy, faster charging is, of course, a good thing.
Right, right. And what's really interesting to see is that this progression that they have, Paul, that they're able to iterate on current design and push it to the next generation, being able to make it a little bit better in different aspects. Certainly, you know, that's what everybody wants to do, is to make things incrementally better. Right. But they seem to be able to, they have been able to do this, and it's something that's certainly going to bode well for them in the future.
And are they stating now that these are actually being manufactured in the Reno, U.S. Giga Factory?
Nobody knows.
Oh, there's Tony. Certainly the 2170s are being made in the Reno factory, right? The Giga Factory is where the 2170s started.
Right.
But I was just pointing out that other places like China, when it comes online, which we have a story about in the later part of the show, there'll be another place where they're pushing out the same assembly line of batteries in another geographical area. Tony, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, so, I had to step out, but I really enjoyed this article, and especially the understanding and the realization that someone can come along and say that they're going to build an electric car, but it really is the battery that is the difference. And after 10 years of incremental improvements, Tesla's really just got it dialed in, and you can't just jump in and leapfrog 10 years of battery development.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've got that under your belt, you've learned what you need to know, and now you're making improvements across the board. And somebody that's just getting into it, they've got to jump those hurdles all the first time and figure out what works and what doesn't. So it's going to be a much tougher process for someone new coming to the stage.
Right.
Okay. Next here, just switch over to the next story, which is a little bit about some stock. The Tesla stock, or earlier, I guess it would have been late last week, after the sales figures came out over 2 days. Basically, the stock dropped about 10%. Again, this is trying to guess what Wall Street is coming up with and why they're doing things. They obviously sold a record amount of cars. They produced just a little bit less than what Wall Street thought they would produce, or came in low on the side of their guidance. But this adversely affected the stock price. There always seems to be something that affects the stock price.
That is crazy.
Whether it's a south wind or whatever, there always seems to be something that
the last 10 days has been crazy in Wall Street for all companies, not just Tesla.
True.
Right,
there has been a stock market pullback in many sectors, if not all. Yeah. But actually, I just checked the stock numbers before I got on this afternoon, and it looked like they bumped up higher a little bit a couple days in a row. So again, it's starting to bounce back. It did get down to close to the $300 mark, and I think today we were sitting around 330. 332, something like that. So it has bounced back somewhat, but again, I have no idea why, and I don't claim to know why. It just seems to move around. Even though there's good news on number of cars sold, there's always some factor that people say they have an issue with. But hey, that's the stock market, I guess. Yeah,
and they have a good quarter. The cars are selling as fast as they can make them. Everything's looking rosy, but oh hey, we missed our anticipated delivery by a bit, and then everyone runs for the hills.
Yeah, and that's kind of the short-sightedness that I don't understand about Wall Street, is that maybe that's true in a number of sectors where they have to hit those margins exactly every single time, but in the case of Tesla, that if they miss the production, does that really mean that the sky is falling? I really don't think so.
Yeah. I'll tell you, someone out there is making a lot of money by just waiting for these calls or waiting for the reactions and picking up stock after a 10 or 15% drop, holding on to it, and then picking up more after another 10 or 15% drop.
Yeah. So, and again, a disclaimer: don't take our word for buying stock here, because we don't know what the heck we're doing. But just from the outside, it does look that way. Exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, someone else is making money. Certainly not any of us.
Not these guys, right?
Right. Yes. And there was of course the mention of the price reduction. That they said, okay, we'll reduce the price of the cars to help with the offset. And I'm sure that some of the Wall Street analysts said, oh, you're cutting into profitability, abandon ship, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, it's crazy with a company like Tesla, with the amount of capital that they have invested. It's like, okay, so you missed some numbers on a quarter. What really does that have to do with anything? But apparently it does. Yeah. Next story we have is about the Chinese market. As you know, the order books started to open in Europe, Japan, and China. And what was kind of unique in the China market is that they've got this cool new type of rim that they're offering in their order book.
Here you go. I got it.
Beautiful. So this is the 19-inch wheel, which is the upgraded wheel that comes with the Model 3. And they've got this this rim cover. Again, this is not a rim. There's a rim underneath this cover, similar to what happens with the 18-inch in North America, where we've got an aluminum rim underneath, and then we've got that blackish arrow rim that comes with the car as well. But it's interesting that they chose a different pattern for China, and that they put it on a 19-inch rim and not an 18-inch rim. So some changes in the Chinese order book. Not sure why, but that is something that they believe, I guess, is something that the Chinese market wants.
Well, want it or not, you're getting it.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. Really,
that is a slick looking rim, though. I particularly like that.
Yeah, and I think it looks better than the black arrow wheel that comes with the North American cars, definitely. But it's interesting that I'd like to see what's underneath it. Nobody knows what's underneath it yet. If you pop this out, are you getting the standard 18-inch look rim in a 19-inch version, or is there something else beneath it? So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Although I notice in this picture, this is definitely a performance version because it's showing the red caliper underneath that rim.
Oh yeah, good eye.
Yeah, but
so here's a stupid piece of trivia for y'all. Mm-hmm. Wheels around the world are in inches as far as diameter. Like they don't sell 230 centimeter wheels in China. They're 18-inch wheels, as far as I know.
Really? So there's no other country that does it. They all do it by inches.
I believe the actual diameter of the wheel is the inches, the standard.
That's crazy. I had no idea. Yeah. All right, I've learned my thing. I'm out. So here's something that has always bothered me. It's not necessarily a Tesla related thing, but it does have to do with the wheel and the wheel itself. I always thought that, for especially like aero wheel, that it would push the air away. This tire looks as though it would chop into the wind, and then the way it fans in, like it would draw air into the wheel well.
But keep in mind, Tony, that's only on half of the car. On the other half of the car, it does it the way that you're thinking it should.
Didn't we have this conversation?
Yeah. We had it with rims, not with covers. Yeah. But it's the same thing. Is that they only make one style of the rim, and when you put them on the opposite side of the car, then of course it works in reverse. So
they should show that side then. If that's the case, that's the side they should show.
They should just show that. It's bothering you because of the side view.
So are there left side wheel covers and right side?
Nope, they're all the same. No.
So that's going to force the car to go around the corner.
Just like rims. There's no left and right rims. Otherwise, how could you do tire rotations?
Well, some cars have different tires on the front.
And front and back sets. Correct. But there's no different left and right front wheel. They're all the same.
Well, there should be.
Can be directional.
Which ones can be?
Tires are directional. Like winter tires, they're mounted for the left side of the car or the right side of the car, and you have to be careful you don't mix them up.
Right.
Correct, not right.
Okay.
You're just confusing everybody, Mark.
Right.
Fair enough. Well, with that, Paul, I understand you have a story from Quebec.
Yeah, I lost the link. Can you share it? Anybody? So I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know where I saw it, but a few days ago, a guy was driving down an icy piece of highway in Quebec, Canada, and he lost control, or the car started sliding into adjacent lanes, and the autopilot kicked in and put him back in the lane he was originally in, which was pretty cool. Where most humans, if they tried to correct that situation, would end up spinning around or in the ditch or hitting another car. So hats off to Autopilot for working even in an icy situation.
Yeah, I think there was an Inside EV's story about it. That's probably a couple of different groups had the story.
But that guy had a dash cam, so it actually captured what happened. And if anyone's ever lost traction on an icy road, it's not a very happy feeling.
Yeah, so this guy was on a highway, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the Quebec equivalent of an interstate. And not only did it get the car going straight, but it put him back in the original lane, which was pretty amazing.
Wow.
All within a few seconds. So
I'm still presenting, so everyone's seeing a wrong-sided rim. Okay, thanks.
There we go. So it was so that this car is in autopilot, correct, Paul? It was. Yep. They said it was in autopilot. He got into an icy patch. The car went a little bit sideways based on what the dash cam was showing. And then it corrected and got him back into the lane.
Yep. Yep. And it was pretty impressive. Like, again, most humans that had that situation would not have ended up like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ended up a lot.
And if you ever get into that type of situation, I've been in it twice and managed to not hit a guardrail. But it was scary as hell.
Probably had to wash your shorts when you got home.
Yes. It was really scary when that happens. And a lot of people, as Paul says, they tend to over or understeer, and that'll put you into the guardrail or the ditch.
Or the semi next to you or something.
Yeah.
Something not good.
Yeah. But that was...
so hopefully we'll get the links up here for our viewing public. And
yeah, if you know, I guess if you've ever been behind the wheel of your car and you've ever looked over to the side of the road to figure out where you're going to land, you know what we're talking about.
You never want to be looking for that landing spot.
You never want to be
Trust
looking.
me, you do not want to be doing that. That is not what you want to do.
And you probably don't have time to even think about what's happening when that
it's a pretty quick thing, especially when you're doing highway speeds. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and our next story is one about Europe. As we mentioned, the books have opened for ordering for the Model 3 in Europe, and apparently in the first couple days it was reported that over 14,000 Model 3 orders had come in just for Europe in those couple of days. Now, obviously, they're going to have more than that as order amounts, but certainly over a couple of days after the books open, that was a great start for them to get that type of order start to flow. And of course, we've been seeing other reports through the week. If you're following our Twitter account, we've had a number of pictures that have come up of people following transports down to the docks where they're loading these things onto boats. And you can tell they're going to Europe because, of course, the license plate holders are different. They've got those elongated plates that are European style as opposed to North American style. So they're definitely going to Europe. And they're heading down different highways to different loading ports, putting them on ships and getting them sent out. I guess just thinking of this, putting them on a ship in California, getting them to Europe.
A lot of them will go through Houston, I'd imagine, because that's the closest seaport to California that doesn't have to go through the Panama Canal.
Right. So you're saying like they loaded on rail to Houston or something?
The rail or truck to Houston, and then from there they go on a boat to Europe. Because I've sent things to Europe and from Colorado, and that's how it goes through Houston. Because it's water travel is always cheaper than land, and from Houston to Europe isn't that much more than from New Jersey to Europe in the scope of sea travel. Where going down to the Panama Canal to Europe is a lot longer.
Right. And of course, going the Pacific way would be really long, I assume.
Yeah. So, I mean, Unless they get a deal shipping from California through the canal or something. But
so the ones leaving California, Asia market?
Might be going to Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that could be. Although
Eastern Siberia.
Does anyone know what Asian plates are? Like Chinese plates on cars?
I think depends on the country, but I think some of them might look more like European ones.
Yeah. I don't know for sure. If someone in the chat room knows, please let us know, or you can also send us a tweet at our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life as well. And if you want to follow through the week the different news stories that break and that some that we report on, certainly just subscribe to that feed, and you can see it as it happens.
All right. In the meantime, I just did a real quick Google search of Chinese license plate, and they do look very much the same, very wide, not very tall. So yeah, they may be what people are following, maybe destined for China.
Quick investigative reporting there, Tony. Way
That's
to go.
me. Yep, on it.
All right. Next, there's a story that just came out from Electric later last week about the current tariffs that are in place, the Trump tariffs, if you will, for different Chinese parts. Apparently, Tesla has asked for an official exemption from the tariffs when it comes to the computer boards that are used inside the Model 3. They're saying these are critical components in the car that are required on every car, and they're they're asking for an official exemption.
Yeah, this happens every time there's a trade war and tariffs. Companies who are bringing in products from the affected countries, like the first thing their lawyers do is file for an exemption. Hey, tariffs are okay except for our products. So
right.
And this,
everyone else has to pay the tariffs, but
yeah, and and not only does okay, so the reason, of course, that the Trump administration inflicted these tariffs on the countries, the United States and China, was a push to get American companies to manufacture things in America. Okay, so you slap a 25% tariff on all the products. It's not like the companies can say, okay, you win, next week, everything in the United States. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, they've certainly gone through a process to get bidders and product that suits what they need, and they have to go through that process all over again to find American ones.
And pray that it's a one-to-one replacement, which Tesla is even concerned that because this is one of the advanced computers at the brains and the neural center of the car, their concern is the part would need to be system tested, functional tested, regression tested. It would need a full testing to make sure that it doesn't conflict with any of the other parts in the car. And we're talking people's lives and safety here, getting in a 2-ton vehicle and hurling down the road at highway speeds.
Exactly. So it's highly unlikely that you'd be able, first of all, to find a one-to-one, and secondly, does the supplier even have enough to share with you? Like there could be many issues with that.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't know what the response was.
Nope.
I don't know that we ever will. I mean,
I think, I wonder if part of the conditions of getting an exemption, maybe they don't want the media to get out there as to there was an exemption given.
Right.
Who knows?
Maybe you wouldn't want all the other companies to know an exemption was given.
Exactly.
We're talking about just a small part of the car coming from China, right? So it's 25% on a few $100s, not 25% on the entire car.
Right. It's just on the part, of course.
Yeah. In this case, just that part.
But I think even if you take the car as a whole, I think I remember something about only 60% of it is made in in North America.
Oh, well.
The rest is elsewhere. Even though it's one of the most North American parted cars ever made, it's still only about 60 or 65%, I believe. Certainly, I'll take a look into that, but I believe that is the case.
I would only question the ever made part. I don't know that Henry Ford was sourcing a lot of stuff.
That's true. That's true. But maybe they're saying it's cars that are made, like
maybe right now. I could clearly understand the right now stuff because
they probably didn't look back in history and say, well, that car was made here 85 years ago.
I remember anymore. An article from Chicago.
Like the number one selling vehicle in the U.S. is an F-150. But the number one selling truck with American-made components is the Toyota Tundra. So the Toyota Tundra is the most American pickup truck made in America.
Yeah.
Right, which is a bit of a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah. There was an article, and it was a big, it was a very well-written article in the Chicago Tribune, and this was some years ago now, that took a lot of the most top-selling vehicles, and country of origin kind of stuff, and it was pointing out things like that, like the Toyota Camry in the Alabama plant was more quote unquote American than some of the big three vehicles. Yeah. But that's not universal for all vehicles. We're not making drawing conclusions.
It is a global economy, and manufacturers are going to source components wherever it makes sense, both on time and availability and engineering skills and production quantities. So
there's a lot of factors to weigh to get your product to market with all these different parts. You have to. You're right. It's a world marketplace that you have to go after in order to be profitable and be able to get it to market on time.
Right.
Yeah. So hopefully, Tesla and other companies can get some exemptions, and and maybe they will, bring the parts for the North American market into the United States. Who knows?
Right.
And perhaps it makes economic sense, instead of paying a 25% tariff if they can't get a waiver, to ramp up production in the States and pay 15% or 20% more, and they're still ahead of the game. But the time it's going to take to find a U.S. or Canadian vendor who can make those parts that are exempt from the duties is, like you said earlier, Mark, you can't do that overnight. It's going to take time.
Yeah, well, like, what are you going to do? Shut down the line and wait?
Because you're waiting for
3 months for tenders to come in. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, so, I thought it said in here that so Tesla argued in their statement, choosing another supplier would have delayed the Model 3 program by 18 months. They would have to set up a clean room. They would have to validate the line. They would have to train the staff. And then, like I said, you run into testing. They have to test the individual components, and then they have to put them in the car and do a full system test to make sure they work, so we're talking 18 months to 2 years here. And by that time, the tariffs hopefully would be over, and definitely the administration. So, why bother?
You never know. You never know. Yeah, the playing field changes every 4 years. So if not before that.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, if they don't like it, they can just get up and leave the room.
Yes.
Right in the middle of negotiation.
Yep.
Yep, that happens apparently.
Apparently.
Just fictitious talking here. We have no clue, but we hear that kind of stuff.
No political opinions at all here.
None at all. Yeah. And hell, half of us are Canadians. So what do you want from us? Next story. We've commented on this gentleman before. There's a Sandy Monroe of Monroe Associates of Detroit, Michigan area, and Sandy's company. What they do is they're in the business of buying cars, tearing them down, and recording every little part and piece of the car, putting it into a large report, and then they sell the reports to other automobile manufacturers and people that just want to know what that car has. And our previous story with Sandy was that his group got a hold of an early Model 3, and they were on a show called Autoline, which is a Detroit-based show that's put on weekly on the web. And in his initial report, Sandy talked about the flaws that he saw in the car from the outside, because at this point they hadn't torn the car apart yet. It was just, they talked about body panel gaps and why the headlights stuck out a little bit, and the door they felt didn't close as solid as it should. There's a number of physical things they looked at the car and talked about. But what the amazing thing was that after they tore the car apart, Sandy's group, Sandy himself being the president, came back on the Autoline show another time and talked about the unbelievable engineering that's been put into this car, how the battery pack was the best he's ever seen, how the car's ability to handle its computer components, how they were military grade. He went on and on about the wonderful features that were inside the Model 3.
So was that after someone dropped a sack of money on his back porch?
That could have been it too, Paul. It might have been, or maybe he's trying to sell the report. That has also been tabled. But the third time that he's now shown up on this Autoline show is that he I guess has got into the teardown a little bit further, and this time he's into the actual motor, the electric motor that drives the car itself, the magnets, the efficiency of that motor. And again, he is overwhelmingly amazed with what Tesla has come up with, that this car, it works so well. It has the ability to outperform anything. It's lighter, it's smaller, but yet it has better performance characteristics than anything. Its efficiency is off the scale. It's just amazing that he's really, it looks like he's really gotten into this, and how this car is light years ahead of the competition when it comes to electrics.
Well, I think that Tesla's strength is the raw engineering of the electric powertrain. I mean, like you said, the battery design, the motor design, all that stuff is rock solid. They don't have 100 years of manufacturing experience on a production line putting doors in the right position like every other company, and that's probably why he noticed little inefficiencies in the body side of things. And I'm sure they're getting better and will be better going ahead. But yeah, from what I know on the battery stuff, it's brilliant how they've put together those battery packs.
Yeah, and the guys in the chat are talking about the super bottle.
Right. The single cooling bottle that provides cooling to all different aspects of the car, and keeps it under, in one bottle, and of course saves on hoses and clamps and different lines running through the car, and certainly another big efficiency that no other car manufacturer, and Sandy was talking about this in his rant as well, that this is something that everyone knows that there's an efficiency to be had. But as Sandy explained it, in a normal car company, all these different groups, the HVAC guys that work on the heating systems and cooling systems of the car, the radiator guys, the guys that need coolant for the motors, all those guys work in separate fields, and they really compete against each other and say, you're not putting your cooling bottle in. That's not going to do my motor. It's not going to do my radiator. It's not going to do the heating system of the car. They all want separate ones. And, they get away with it because they have complete domain at those different intersections of the car. Whereas Tesla, built from the ground up, they've come at it like, we are building the best product. Therefore, everybody talks, everyone contributes, and we get the best possible performance and answer to this problem.
And I have a feeling the culture at Tesla is more engineering focused than financially focused. Like the big three American companies will use a clamp that costs 5 cents cheaper, because on 1 million cars, it's, 1 million times 5 cents money they're going to save. Where Tesla says, hey, what's the best way to do this? And as long as the costs are acceptable, they'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another little thing they talked about in the Autoline, and it's interesting to watch. I suggest you look up Autoline and look up Sandy Monroe's interview, but was the magnets that are in the electric motor. And what Sandy didn't realize when they tore it apart was that there was these little magnets about the size of a Bazooka Joe bubblegum piece. And what they would have is inside of each of those magnets, it was sectioned in 4. So there was 4 magnets that were glued together to make one a bigger magnet. And they did this, of course, for the efficiency, for the magnetic fields to pull and push based on their fields. And it made the motor run more efficiently. Nobody else is doing that. They're not gluing magnets separately together, 4 different ones. And he was talking about, man, the engineering that's in this is incredible. So just as you mentioned, Paul, another way that they're engineering on paper and then bringing it to life because they feel it's the best solution.
One of the things that I remember the most about the Model 3 reveal was Elon talking about the elimination of parts.
Right.
And with that as a driving goal, you sit down with, like Paul said, all the different departments, and you say, we're driving parts out of the system. I don't care how you do it. Figure it out. Just get it done.
Because more parts is more things to break and more suppliers and more pieces of the puzzle. Yeah.
More complicated assembly line. Yeah.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. And just as a note to the chat room, thanks for joining us, certainly. But if you have a show title, please send them our way, and we'll pick from the submissions and pick a show title for today's show.
I have one question. Why are they gluing magnets together? Don't they just snap together by themselves?
They do if the magnets have the right pull on each side. But they're putting magnets that
they're gluing the opposing poles?
Yeah, opposing poles together.
Wow.
That's some damn good glue.
Yeah. And that's what they were saying on the show. Exactly. You imagine getting your finger, oh damn, the thing moved again. It's like trying to shove them together. I'm sure they have a machine to do it, but
just that fact, like think of how many glue vendors they had to go through to find the glue that would handle every environmental condition on the planet where Tesla's going to be driven. You got cold, hot, humid, dry.
You're right. So in the chat here, David, wait, was it David? Derek said Sandy talked about the magnet that he hit with a hammer and it exploded.
Right.
So if you want clickbait, the name of the show could be Tesla's exploding magnets.
Exploding magnet motors.
Exploding magnet motors. There's some clickbait for you.
Well, speaking not of clickbait, but Tony, you've got the next story about an opening of something new just over the weekend.
Yeah, so I've put in my application to work at Giga Factory 3, and I expect to be hired by the end of the year. Apparently.
Wow! So you think it's gonna you'll be in by the end of the year, huh?
That's crazy. When they originally announced Giga Factory 3, Elon, what did he say? Like middle of 2020 or end of 2020 will be in production.
Yep.
And everyone and all the investors and speculators were like, bullshit. And then during the what was it, the Q4 or the Q3 2018? Was it this last one? But anyway, I forget when, but they modified the timeline as everyone expected they were going to modify the timeline, but they went the wrong way. So instead of saying 2020, Elon said, yeah, we'll be finished with the factory in 2019, and we'll be beginning production of cars by the end of 2019.
Yeah.
That's a holy crap moment right there.
Yeah. And it was just immediate, wasn't it? It was there was a report over the weekend that Elon may have left the country by plane, and of course speculation was he was going to China, and sure enough he turns up at the beginning of the week and is in a ceremony for the ribbon cutting for the Giga Factory 3. So amazing that it's started. Like the whole. Actually, some photos that we've seen through the Twitter feed has been that the entire thing is graded. There's a concrete pad down already, and that's where the opening ceremony took place. Was inside a fenced, graded factory spot.
Those are different wheels.
You're absolutely right. I'm sure that wasn't produced in China, though, Paul.
Right.
Not yet, anyways.
Yeah. But I mean, this really does show when China wants something, it gets done.
Yeah.
You know, like they said in the article on Teslarati, in the article it said, you know, Tesla put in a bid for the factory, and there was no challenge for that. The manufacturing company or the construction company is a subsidiary of China Construction, which is owned by the government, and the bank immediately gave them low interest loans to get this done. So I think China is going to throw as many hands as are needed to get this thing done as quickly as possible. And they're going to start producing cars in volume next year.
Yeah, it's shocking how quick things move there because there's no bureaucracy, right? If something gets green lighted by the powers that be above, everyone falls in line real quick, and red tape is, I'm sure, very minimal at any point.
It's possible, and I don't know this as a fact, but it's possible that the projects get green lighted and some people get green palmed. And things happen very quickly.
Or they say, you don't have to go to jail if you follow the rules.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
They have a lot less regulation, like in environmental, you know, like if Tesla China says, or the Chinese government says, we're putting a Tesla factory in your backyard and you live there, you really don't have much to say. I mean, where in North America, your neighbors would fight it and say, oh, it's toxic chemicals, we don't want it here, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah.
Wasn't that in that one picture from many weeks ago where it was all graded and there was that house like right next to the front?
Yeah. We were saying that, man, if they squat there long enough, they're gonna get a ton of money. But no, they were bulldozed that night.
Yeah.
The government is full eminent domain control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're out of here.
But I got to tell you, I think this is going to be a great year, and I'm going to actually enjoy this year with the reports, because you know people are going to be doing drones, and there's going to be like every month there's going to be a new picture, just like there was with the Apple headquarters.
Which brings up some speculation. Like there's many ways that they could get this plant on, started. Is it, are there going to be a couple of sprung structures to help them immediately start churning out maybe cars that are put together in pieces so they can avoid the tariff? There's many things that could happen at this site, and it's going to be interesting to see what pieces they put in place to start churning out cars.
Right. Yeah. It's yet to be seen,
Yeah. Next, we've got a report about Avis, the car rental company.
I all of a sudden want to take a trip.
Avis apparently has bought 280 Model S's and X's from Tesla for its rental fleet. Where, you may say? Not San Diego. Nope. Not Toronto. They are doing it in Norway, of course, which is the country with the most amount of EVs and Teslas outside of the United States. Norway leads the way.
You mean per capita?
I think it is per capita.
Because I would argue with that.
Yeah, certainly by per capita.
Yeah, because per capita, there are more electric vehicles on Mars than there are humans. I think Mars wins.
So how many Teslas on Mars?
Well, none yet. But...
None yet. Yeah, but as soon as that Roadster makes that right orbit, there'll be one. Yeah. But,
okay, sorry, Mark.
But this Avis has ordered 280 to add to their fleet, which I believe the article indicated they didn't have a fleet previous. So this is their first fleet of electric vehicles in Norway. And it's because of the enormous popularity of Tesla. It's also
it's because of the high taxes on gas cars.
maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
There's also a rumor that maybe Tesla has an agreement with Avis about using them as loaner vehicles when Tesla vehicles are in for service in Norway. So there's a couple of different ideas as to what these Avis vehicles are going to be used for, if it's just public use or if it's something to do with the Tesla loaner program or something else. But kudos to Avis in Norway. I'm just hoping that maybe over a little bit of time that maybe they can bring it to some other places in North America. That would be nice to see.
Yes.
If they only have, was it 250 vehicles?
280.
280. And you request the Tesla, and then you get to the counter, and they go, "Oh, we're sorry.
We got a Ford Escort." Yeah, it doesn't say you get one; it's something equivalent. So here's your Ford Escort.
It's your Chevy Cruze. Yes.
Actually, for people that don't know, a story that I'm familiar with in Orlando. You can rent a Chevy Volt for the price of a regular car at the Orlando airport. So that's one of the cities, one and only really that I know of personally, that they have a program in place in Orlando to rent Chevy Volts out. And you get the bonus of free charging at your hotel and events that you go to, like SeaWorld and such, have agreements with the rental group that your car gets free charging while you're in town. So really you pay nothing for gas and you get to drive an EV for a few days or a week or however long you're there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next. So everyone knows that CES is now happening in Las Vegas.
How do you spell that?
With a K and a P and an R, but it's called CES. And there's a group that was attending with a bunch of promotion robots. And these robots, this company is from Russia, and they have a number of, I guess, human-looking, not completely. They're robots. You can tell they're robots. They're on a wheelbase, but they've got arms and they have a head and they got displays.
Are they really good at hacking into things?
I don't know. I don't know if they are or not. But they were apparently. This is the story that was given by the company called Promobot. Is the name of the company. You can find them on Twitter under the same name. And they said that one of the robots broke ranks, wandered out onto the street as they were loading him. This is in the middle of the night, getting ready for CES.
He went
and a Tesla Model S drove by, which they said was an autopilot, and nobody really knew how they would know that. But it drove by this bot at the side of the road and apparently clipped it, tipped it over, and it smashed on the side of the road. Now, it was interesting that there's video of this. The link that we have shows the video if you want to see it. But when I watched the video, I was going, didn't really look like the Tesla hit it. Or if it did, it didn't look like it, really slammed into it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't catch, many other people did, that in the video that they're showing in later frames of it, you could see that a rope was pulling on the bot. So they had staged this to get some promotion about this car. Well, this is the theory now, that this was just another part of promotion to get their name out into the public.
Right.
And of course, now people are slamming on them that they were, trying to push this on Tesla, a car that was an autopilot. Again, how did they know it was an autopilot? You know, this is a road that's going into a hotel or a convention center, and the car's not even going that fast. So like, it's how they know it was an autopilot. Nobody knows. They just said that. And when this rope was spotted in a frame of the video, then everyone started to explode and go, what is going on here? What are these people doing? And it was really fun to go to their Twitter feed and see the comments that were flowing into this company after this information was shown, after people were taking snapshots of the video and posting the rope picture and all this stuff. So craziness going on this week.
I mean, when you think of credibility, you think of Russia, right?
See, and that's even like Hockey Day pointed out. Even it was a Russian company because they were on the wrong side of the road.
Yes, yes.
And kudos to David in the chat talking about PromoBot, a suitor for FlufferBot. Although I think PromoBot would be FlufferBot's ape.
Yeah, FlufferBot's enemy, I think. Well, maybe we all know FlufferBot got fired, so maybe he doesn't care. But yeah, that was an interesting story that started in the week, and the next day people were just losing their minds over it, going, "What is going on? Who's doing this to us? And what are they trying to post and tell us?"
Yeah, they could have done any car, but yeah, the fact, I mean, you know, Tesla, of course, clickbait.
Exactly.
And then you're exactly right. They tried to push it. Well, I don't know. They tried to push it, but the article, the media, of course, picked it up, which is what they expected. But what they did not expect was
the legions of Tesla fans.
Well, yes. Well, there's that. But you know, that the media would focus more on the Tesla than on the robot. You know, in that Tesla's autopilot hits pedestrians.
Well, I really think that they did not comprehend how many rabid Tesla fans are out there, and the people that were spending their time dissecting the video frame by frame, coming up with snapshots, reporting it to the world as they only could, and then starting to berate the company on their public forums. So yeah, good for them. That's let that be a lesson to those out there looking to steal Tesla's spotlight with fraudulent claims.
Okay, so 0101-01010 has the show title for tonight: Bot on Bot Violence.
That's certainly a contender. Absolutely.
Yes. Previous to that was Hockey Day, spring rolls in China.
Spring rolls in China.
Yeah.
I love the chat room. They're great.
I know, right?
Our last story of the evening is a new development in Texas that SpaceX is currently building. And let me see if I can just share it here. Are you guys seeing this?
Yep.
Okay. So what we've got here is the first iteration of the BFR, or as they now call it, Starship. And this is a smaller model of what the ultimate vehicle is going to look like. But apparently this is being built as a test hopper. So they're apparently going to be doing some tests up to a certain height. I heard something like 5,000 feet as a maximum. But this is going to be practicing takeoffs and landings and prove the design of this vehicle can be scaled larger and be used for actual spacefaring missions. But to start with, it's just going to be testing out, I guess, the aerodynamics of the vehicle. It's interesting, though, that Elon talked a lot about the shiny material, the mirror-like finish that's on it, which looks like a stainless steel type material, and indicated that he believes this is going to be fantastic for when the vehicle is coming into the atmosphere for deflecting heat. You think they would, obviously they know this stuff. It's not like, hey, let's try out some tinfoil, see what it fares out. But this vehicle is going to be one that's just, as they say, hopping for takeoff and landing, testing out the design, making sure that what they believe the aerodynamics are and how they're going to behave in low Earth atmosphere, obviously within our atmosphere, not really going into space.
Yeah, and I think you got to go to the other picture, the one I'm sharing here. This is the super shiny chromed, illustration prototype, whatever, that looks more like.
That looks a little cleaner.
Yeah, a little cleaner, and it actually looks like Princess what's her name's ship in Star Wars.
Princess Leia's ship or Princess? No, not Leia.
The Leia's mom.
Oh, who knows? Who knows what that is?
Whatever. But the fact that it's all silver like this, I could see, hopefully, if it's that reflective and seamless, then yeah, hopefully it would help on re-entry.
Yeah, so the hopper is being built at their the SpaceX terminal in Texas.
Amidala, yes.
There we go, coming in from the chat room. all matter of information just flows in from the chat room at any given point. That's great. But this will be hopping around, apparently testing the aerodynamics and the takeoff and landing abilities of this new model. And I understand that the BFR, obviously, it's going to have a much larger midsection of the vehicle in order to propel it further into space. This is kind of a stub-nosed version of it just for these hopper tests that are going to be happening.
Yeah.
And is the F in BFR what I think it means?
It could be anything, Paul.
It's
anything at all. Falcon.
Fast.
The big rocket.
Big Falcon rocket.
Big Falcon.
But I think that's why they've gotten away from it, and now the name is Starship. So
yeah. I'm still again.
I think the BFR is going to be being removed from the terminology.
Yeah.
But,
I do think I think they should stick with the Falcon. I mean, named after Professor Falcon of the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick.
Wasn't War Games? That was Whopper.
Right, but who was programmed by Professor Falcon. See, I'm telling you, a font of stupid knowledge. You just know these things.
You're great at trivia games, Tony. You just come up with the stuff, pulling it out of the air.
Right, because you never know when that's going to come up in an interview.
Yeah, it never will.
Yes.
I don't know. If you're trying to get a job at Giga Factory 3, that's one of the questions.
Right. Well,
yeah, and Tony will certainly fill us in on that as he gets that interview. So
yes. Oh, I have another title entry, and this one's from Lee Moon. Model 3 saves us from robot apocalypse.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Skynet.
Yep. If a robot uprising, just autopilot.
Yeah. It will take him out limb by limb.
Exactly. And one last thing for today, because of course I typically have a last thing, and today is no different. Here's a shot of what now all Model 3 owners with full self-driving are going to have to be worried about.
Chinese restaurants?
No, we've got the dog that has figured out how Autopilot works and has taken the car to the park by himself.
Nice.
So this is a picture of Dan Myers, Australian Shepherd, indicated that he figured out how Autopilot worked, and now he can drive herself to the dog park.
No way.
So now everybody's going to have to start hiding those key fobs and key credit cards, their phones, because the pets are going to be able to figure out how to go where they want to go, when they want to go.
We could give them the valet key, and then they're limited to what?
Yeah, they're limited, right? Exactly. And of course, you've got your app, so you can keep an eye on how fast they're driving to the park and stuff like that. But just another worry. Now you don't have to worry about your kids. You also have to worry about your pets.
Wow. I don't know how that voice activation works.
Bark activation. Exactly. So, well, that's it for today. Paul, any shout outs?
Well, I just want to shout out anybody with a EV or hybrid in Colorado, where that last picture was taken, by the way, if you didn't notice. My shop, Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, works on cars. We don't do a lot of Tesla stuff yet because most of them are still under warranty, but we do sell a lot of Tesla tires and install hitches and things like that. So check us out if you're along the Front Range in Colorado. Our website's boulderhc.com.
Very good, very good. And that wasn't your dog, right, Paul? That was
not my dog, not your dog. Tesla.
Okay.
Don't know that Chinese restaurant.
Now, is it just Boulder HC or is it Boulder HFC? And then speculate what the F
and if so, what's the F stand for?
Boulder Falcon Hybrids.
There's some marketing, some clickbait for Paul's business right there. Absolutely, absolutely.
I think I'm gonna register that domain and just
just give it to Paul. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And Tony, any shout outs from you?
Shout outs as usual to everyone in the chat, which has now devolved into bot on bot violence. Skynet versus Starlink. 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves.
They've gone rabid on each other now, have they?
Yeah. Yes, it's quite hilarious. So yeah, thanks guys, thanks everyone in the chat. You certainly do help keep it interesting.
Exactly. And anyone that's watching the show, please, if you haven't already, press that subscribe button. We're really close to 800 people, so click on that, get us over the 800 mark. We would really appreciate it. If you've already done it, sign up your dog or pet, because they're going to be driving your car anyways. They may as well be doing something productive, like subscribing to this program. But we thank you all for participating either live here in the Tony in the room here with Tony and Paul and myself, or certainly we would like to also get you to, if you haven't already, subscribe to the What Drives Us show, which is a show that's put on weekly as well. So go to What Drives Us on YouTube. Click on the subscribe and help us out there as well. And
so a lot of
it's not happening this week, but it'll be on next week.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that we actually record 2 shows a night. This one first, and then we do What Drives Us. This one, of course, focusing on Tesla. What Drives Us focuses on some Tesla, but the broader scheme of all the electric, hybrid, plug-in, alternative fuel vehicles. And then, battery technologies, greening the grid, and everything around driving fossil fuels out of the automotive industry. So if you're interested in the broader scheme of, like I said, greening the automotive industry, then head over to What Drives Us. If you haven't checked out that show, then check it out. Just like Tesla Life, you hit the subscribe and you click the notification bell, and you get a notification when the next show starts.
Exactly. Makes it real easy.
And that show's been on the air for 300 plus episodes.
Yeah,
300 years. I thought you were going to say.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was going to say
lots of back shows if you want to see how
we did start. I think it was January 2010 was the first show.
There you go. So join us there as well. If you like what you hear here, certainly you can hear some more of it over there.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, yes. And certainly you can find us on Twitter at The Tesla Life here. You can also find us on Facebook, The Tesla Life #1. And again, subscribe here on YouTube and help us out. We would also like to thank Lee Moon, who has produced the music that we use for our show free. Thank you very much, Lee. Really appreciate that. And with that, I think we've got it wrapped up. And please join us next time and find out what's going on in the Tesla life. Oh, that didn't work.
There we go.
There we go. All right, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.